what I'm going to do now is I'm going to inspire you to be creative. We're going to have a little exercise, and what I'd like to have everybody do is put down your stuff on your chairs, stand up, and I need everybody here to pair up into groups of 5. Make a decision as a group. You can go by votes or whoever's tallest or whatever you want to do, but make a decision about which thing you guys want to focus on. Think about that for a second. Go ahead.
So we got things.
Okay, you got to pick out your things. Now, I want you to consider the main aspect of that thing, that object, that makes it functional, that makes it work, that makes it valuable to you. What human need does it fulfill? How does it fulfill some value to you? Why did you pick this thing? Okay? I want you to identify the one aspect of that thing that makes it useful. And I'm going to let you guys discuss that as a group to identify it. Go.
Yeah, the only ancillary thing I would think is information.
Yeah.
Information and communication, yes.
Well, our daughter uses it and she'll create pictures and she'll take the pictures and have all different kind of ways in which she does it. So I think that creative outlet is something that's important.
That is the object, though. That really is all you're doing.
Right.
The brush is really just agitating.
Here's your next challenge. Here's your next challenge. Now, with that thing in mind, that essential component of that thing, the most vital, most significant piece of that thing, I want you to break it. I want you to break it. I want you to discuss in your group what it means to break the most important thing. If you had picked a glass, maybe a glass of water, then it's a glass with no bottom, or it's a glass that's shattered and broken. What is it about that thing that's most important? You just identified that. Now break that thing and articulate how it's broken as a group. Go.
So it somehow optimizes what you already know about.
So we picked a smartphone. The
Essential.
default, the essential, of course, is information and communication exchange. The default is the fact that the battery is dead. And so we are repurposing it as an anti-theft device. It's a decoy phone that you can put out and have among your belongings for people who want to come along and steal from you or pickpocket as a dummy for your real phone.
Excellent.
Well, you have to have another hole, a smaller hole, push air in to push the coffee out. If that's broken, the coffee doesn't come out, at least it doesn't come out to the degree that we would like to have it. But the way we solve that problem is, the way we would sell that is that it's a coffee flow retardant. You don't have as much dribble. You don't have the spillage problem.
We picked a toaster, and so the default was that the outside walls were gone. So we just kind of had a central heating unit, but no, so we decided it's a pita toaster. Or a tortilla toaster, can make tacos. We're going to sell it at Williams and Simona's. It's very specific. And so now we have pita toasters. Yes, you want one.
Somehow we chose an acoustic guitar, and of course the value of the guitar is that it makes sound, and you need people to make music with it. And then of course you broke it on us. Thanks a lot. And so what we then had was 100 guitars that were broken, so we figured it would probably be good to call Pete Townsend from The Who to come and sign them all and sell it as signed art.
Now, the philosophy behind this kind of approach, this creative exercise, is around setting boundaries. You can't boil the ocean, so what you do is you wind up getting a pan of water and you can boil that. What I'm asking you to do is, as you engage your creative exercise, put parameters around it. You already know what your business looks like. If you wind up taking one of those walls and you shift it, one of those value propositions, one of those pieces, and you remove it, and you allow yourself to be creative around it, you actually wind up having some better results. The same thing is true with any other kind of innovation. You can't just innovate wildly out in the open. You're looking for products or services, or you're looking for certain demographics, or you're looking for a solution to a problem. And if you treat your business in the same kind of a challenge, I think you'll find some interesting results. I've been told that I have 2 minutes left. I have a lot of slides that I'm not going to actually touch on. I am going to talk about maybe a few of them rapid fire and then conclude with one point. when we wind up talking about this stuff, I want to emphasize that great innovation and great design, we take a look at what great design and great innovation does, they disrupt. When you wind up taking a look at great art, it really does the same thing. And that disruption is something to embrace, something to champion, and something to celebrate. Truly great design influences meaning. And these meanings are much more important than simply appeal or cachet or the flash. And it's the innovation that becomes the new ubiquitous, everywhere standard in that meaning. Finally, human history remembers design. Artifacts in history are symbolic of the culture and the people that really represented. You don't know what the arguments were between the Spartans, but you sure know what they lived like. You know the kind of personalities that they have, because we have very few barren, just hardcore marine-like living attitudes that these people had. Men, women, and children. The entire culture is defined by what the artifacts were that they left behind. And when we take a look at our innovations today and the designs that come out, these are the footprints that we're going to leave behind that define who we are. And finally, I've probably got about 60 seconds left. I want to highlight a couple of these. I was at a TTI Vanguard event where I talked to a whole bunch of people. I had some fascinating individuals sitting next to me. Frank Gehry was one of the individuals who was doing the speaking. And he said, out of all of the projects that he's ever done, the sum total of all the design work that went into his fabulous architectural achievements represent 0.8% of the final investment in that architecture. And yet, it is the design that comprised 99% of the takeaway that people have. Sure, they want to find the bathroom. They want to get their seat so they can look at the show. But it's the design of the space that's really impactful. And less than 1% of the resources are expended on that. Think what would happen if you spent 1% on the next great design for your business, your next great innovation. Success is your biggest enemy in the best possible way. The individual who comes up with a super approach, the new business that winds up completely revolutionizing his industry, is now convinced that that is the only solution to pursue. Why change it? You've found your success. It makes perfect sense. There's no reason to look beyond that. That's problematic. That means that you're never going to actually look beyond that. That will be no new chapter if you don't actually actively engage it. Artists can break engineering deadlocks. Again, sitting next to a fascinating gentleman who runs Vertu phones. He worked for Nokia for about 8 years as their lead designer. Has anyone seen a Vertu phone? Do you even know what I'm talking about? These are ridiculous. These are $35,000 phones made out of solid gold, platinum, silver, alligator, ostrich skin, custom-made phones that just feel like real pieces of artwork in your hand. He was designing touchscreen phones for Nokia 10 years, 5 years before the iPhone ever came about. And Nokia didn't take it because they didn't have the vision to try to build that. He's now demonstrated that if you let an artist design something, if you let an artist or an artistic influence, a creative influence, create a vision, let the engineers do what they do best, which is problem solve. Figure out how to make it work. Don't be constrained by the engineers that say this is the way it has to be. The new discipline is being interdisciplinary. That means that you have to shatter your old conventions, be willing to open yourself up to the fact that gobs of creative people can actually achieve a heck of a lot more than a single person probably can. And the CEO matters. Sony issued a focus group research study right before the Walkman came out. And 100% of every single focus group resulted in the same result from all the women who were surveyed, who said, there is no way on earth I will ever buy that because it'll mess up my hair. This is the truth. And the Sony CEO read those reports and saw them and the cautionary comments from all of his consumer research people, and he said, I don't care, go. The visionary, the leader, has a huge impact on whether or not these innovations actually go through. And finally, context, context, context. Location, location, location. Figure and ground, stage and performer. Art and wall or canvas. It has a lot to do with how you actually create your innovation or your design. It has to have a place. It always exists inside an ecosystem. And it could be the most awesome, innovative design ever. But if it doesn't have the environment that actually nurtures it, it's probably not going to survive. So you have to consider the world that it actually lives in. And I have gone at least 30 seconds over. I want to say thank you very much for having me here. I hope it was helpful.